There are symbols most people walk past without a second thought. Printed on shirts, tattooed onto skin, pressed into jewelry, or woven into music videos and films. They feel harmless. They feel artistic. Some even look beautiful. But symbols, whether we realize it or not, were created with intention. Some of them carry a spiritual weight far heavier than the person wearing them ever understands. In this video, we're going to step behind the curtain and look at the symbols that were never meant to be casual. Symbols that were born for worship, rebellion, or invocation. And whether they appear in rituals, in media, or on the street, their meaning didn't vanish simply because culture stopped paying attention. The audience changed. The purpose didn't. Let's start with one of the most recognizable ones. The inverted pentagram, 5 points turned downward, has become so common that most people don't question it anymore. But its meaning was never neutral. In satanic ritual, the inverted pentagram represents the triumph of flesh over spirit, earth over heaven. It symbolizes rebellion, the refusal of divine order, and the elevation of self above God. Occult practitioners carve it into ritual knives or draw it onto the ground where invocations are spoken. Some dedicate themselves to darkness by branding it onto their own skin. Even Wicca, one of the most popular modern pagan systems, uses the upright pentagram as the center of spellwork, calling on the elements and spiritual forces. But flip that star, turn it downward, and everything changes. Harmony becomes defiance. Balance becomes inversion. Anton LaVey cemented this shift when he placed the inverted pentagram inside the sigil of Baphomet, turning the symbol into the official emblem of the Church of Satan. From that moment, the symbol wasn't simply mystical, it was openly satanic. Now, it's everywhere. On clothing, album covers, posters, filters, and fashion accessories. Most people wear it for style, but style doesn't erase meaning. This symbol was created as a mark of allegiance, and allegiance, whether understood or not, always leads somewhere. The inverted cross. Another symbol dismissed as edgy or artistic is the inverted cross. Today, it appears in music videos, horror films, and merchandise. But in satanic ritual, the inverted cross is far more than a prop. It is a declaration. A statement of open rejection of Christ and his crucifixion. In dark rituals, it's carved into altars or worn as jewelry to mock the sacrifice of Jesus. It stands as an act of spiritual defiance, a symbol used in desecrated communion rites and, tragically, even in crime scenes tied to spiritual abuse. Yet this symbol wasn't always twisted. According to early church tradition, the Apostle Peter requested to be crucified upside down, not out of rebellion, but humility. He felt unworthy to die in the same way as his Savior. What once symbolized devotion has been inverted into blasphemy. And now, its presence is brushed off as harmless aesthetics. But for those who know its origin, it still carries the weight of rebellion. Symbols don't lose meaning. Culture simply forgets to look deeper. The all-seeing eye appears ancient, mysterious, and spiritual. And that's because it is. This eye shows up in occult orders, secret societies, and magical texts claiming to grant enlightenment or hidden knowledge. But for occultists, the eye is not simply a symbol of wisdom. It is the eye of Lucifer, the so-called light-bearer, watching, guiding, and granting forbidden insight. In ritual magic, initiates stare into the drawn eye while reciting invocations, attempting to awaken the third eye and open themselves to visions. Many succeed, just not in the way they expect. Accounts of hallucinations, night terrors, and even spiritual possession follow these rituals. What is awakened is not truth, it is deception. The eye becomes a doorway, and once opened, it doesn't close easily. Today the symbol appears in fashion, jewelry, and art, but its meaning hasn't shifted. It remains a spiritual invitation, a mark that says, I'm open to being watched. And then, the sigil of Lucifer. Unlike ancient symbols passed down through cultures, the sigil of Lucifer is surprisingly modern. It emerged from 16th century grimoires, manuals of ritual magic, and was later adopted by the Church of Satan. The shape looks abstract, but each line was drawn with intention. The V shapes point downward, representing Lucifer's descent. The sweeping curve at the bottom forms an infinity symbol, suggesting limitless self-power. And the overall shape was designed to echo, distort, and mock the Christian cross. Practitioners use it in rituals to invoke Lucifer as a source of wisdom or rebellion. Some believe it enlightens the self, others know it opens a door. But the symbol's intention has never changed. It calls on a presence that thrives in defiance. And here's what most people don't know. The symbol doesn't require belief to influence someone. Its purpose is not faith, it's invitation. Simply wearing it is enough. The Baphomet. The goat-headed figure known as Baphomet has become the mascot of modern Satanism. The imagery is unmistakable. Half human, half goat. Male and female elements fused together, one hand pointing up and one pointing down. It was originally drawn by occultist Eliphas Levi, designed not to inspire knowledge, but to provoke. Every line is a rebellion against the order of creation. What God separated, the symbol merges. What God defined, it blurs. Heaven and hell, male and female, human and animal, light and darkness. In satanic rituals, Baphomet becomes the centerpiece where offerings and unholy acts are performed. Practitioners meditate on its image, believing it unlocks forbidden knowledge or transforms them into something beyond human. But what it transforms them into is not more, it is less. Because this symbol doesn't elevate, it corrupts. Wherever Baphomet appears, something sacred is being mocked. The hexagram. Many recognize the six-pointed star as the Star of David, a sacred symbol in Judaism. But in occult texts, like the Key of Solomon, the same shape takes a very different form. Practitioners draw hexagrams on the ground, seal them with blood, and use them to summon or bind spirits. Inscribed onto metal or parchment, the hexagram becomes a talisman for curses or conjuring. Some carve it into their skin, believing it marks them forever with spiritual power. This is not the Star of David. This is its distortion. In the occult, the hexagram is treated not as a symbol of covenant, but as a magical weapon. Each point is believed to command an aspect of creation, yet the control is an illusion. Spirits that answer do not obey. They deceive, manipulate, and destroy. That's why this symbol is not simply a shape. It is a gateway, and gateways rarely stay closed. The Ankh, a cross with a loop on top, comes from ancient Egypt. In its original context, it was tied to gods of the dead and the promise of an afterlife shaped not by a creator, but by spirits and forces that ruled the underworld. Priests believed the Ankh opened a path between the earthly and the spiritual. Over time, it was absorbed into modern occult and New Age rituals, claiming to offer healing, awakening, or divine feminine energy. But the Ankh is not a variation of the Christian cross. It is its opposite. Where the cross represents sacrifice and salvation, the Ankh represents a system built on gods that demanded devotion but offered illusion. It is a counterfeit, a symbol that looks holy but redirects worship away from the true source. The Ouroboros, a serpent swallowing its own tail. At first glance, it seems symbolic of cycles, balance, or eternity. But the Ouroboros is one of the oldest symbols of self-worship. From ancient Egypt to Gnostic writings, It represents the belief that divinity comes from within. No beginning, no end, no God above. Just the self, endlessly creating and consuming itself. Occultists embrace the Ouroboros because it rejects every biblical truth about creation, purpose, and divine authority. It presents a universe without God, without accountability, and without salvation. A closed loop where the self becomes the only source of meaning. To believers, that is not enlightenment. That is imprisonment. The triple moon. 3 lunar phases side by side, the waxing crescent, the full moon, and the waning crescent. This symbol stands at the center of Wicca and neo-pagan worship. It represents the goddess in her 3 forms, maiden, mother, and crone. Practitioners place it on altars and use it in rituals to invoke intuition, hidden wisdom, or spiritual power. But at its core, the triple moon is about worship. It replaces the creator with a divine feminine force that becomes the center of devotion. What seems elegant and empowering subtly rewrites faith. It does not complement Christianity, it replaces it. The swastika. Most people recognize the swastika only from the horrors of the 20th century, but the symbol is far older. It appeared in ancient temples and pagan rituals as a sign of cosmic power. Occultists in the 19th century resurrected it, believing it tapped into hidden energies and awakened supernatural strength. The Nazis then twisted those occult ideas into a political and spiritual movement. The swastika became more than a logo. It became the symbol of an ideology built on destruction, bloodshed, and the promise of a new world forged without mercy. To this day, the symbol still appears in esoteric groups claiming enlightenment while courting darkness. Wherever it shows up, it carries not only history, but a spiritual poison. The black sun is an occult emblem tied to Nazi mysticism and pagan revival. It appears as a circle with 12 dark spokes radiating outward. At first glance, it looks like a stylized sun, but its meaning is inverted. Occult groups believed the black sun represented the force behind the physical sun, a hidden source of destructive creation, a power that purifies through chaos and transforms through collapse. It looks like illumination, but it's actually a counterfeit, pointing not to light, but to shadow. The Leviathan cross is one of the clearest symbols of satanic rebellion. A double cross rests above an infinity loop. Originally used in alchemy to represent sulfur, associated with fire and decay, it was later adopted by the Church of Satan as a declaration of absolute freedom from moral authority. The double cross challenges every law, every standard, every code. The infinity symbol beneath it declares the self as eternal and untouchable. Together, they preach a gospel of rebellion. No God, no morality, no boundaries. The self is the only deity worth serving. But when right and wrong are erased, what remains isn't freedom, it's chaos. These symbols may look artistic, harmless, or even fashionable. But symbols contain stories. They carry intentions. And when a symbol is born from rebellion, worship, or invocation, wearing it, even unknowingly, still ties you to the meaning it was created for. You don't have to fear symbols, but you should understand them. And once you understand them, you'll never look at them the same way again. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to Beyond Genesis. Share this with someone who needs solid, biblical insight in their daily walk. God bless you.